Third Schedule. The bill proposes to insert a new entry number 26 to Table I and 15 to Table II of the Third Schedule of the FAA Act, 2005 to provide an exemption from charging FET on the entire supply chain of goods and services for RECODIC project, presently being considered as a qualified investment in Foreign Investment, Promotion and Protection, Act, 2022. Customs Act, 1969. Smuggle Section 2s. At present, the definition of smuggle includes the activity of pilferage of transit goods, but its territorial domain was not defined. By amending the above said definition, the bill proposes to assign municipal limits for customs authorities for conducting anti-smuggling operations in case of pilferage of transit goods as anywhere within the territorial jurisdiction of Pakistan. Customs Academy of Pakistan, CAP, Section 3C. The bill proposes to amend the nomenclature of Section 3C of the Customs Act, 1969 to replace the existing name of Pakistan Customs Academy, PCA, with Customs Academy of Pakistan, CAP, to avoid duplication with the term Post-Clearance Audit, PCA, as already stated under Section 3DD of the Customs Act. Assistance to the Officers of Customs Section 7. The bill proposes to include provincial levies and Casadar Force and its officers in a list of departments that are bound to assist officers of customs whenever requested. General power to exempt from customs duties Section 19. At present, the federal government is empowered to exempt custom duties in various specified circumstances and contingencies as mentioned in Section 19(1) of the Act. The bill proposes to extend such powers of the federal government to the event of implementation of an agreement of the government of Pakistan with any entity. The bill also proposes to extend the protection to all in-field exemption notifications issued on or after the first day of July 2016, up to June 30, 2024. Power to determine the customs value Section 25A. At present, the Director of Customs Intelligence may incorporate values as benchmarks from internationally acclaimed publications, periodicals, bulletins, or official websites of manufacturers of indenters, while assigning the values to imported or exported goods. The bill proposes to rephrase the expression with the intent of authorizing the Director of Customs to consult prices of goods available from the above international published sources to ensure that the Director of Customs Intelligence uses such values only as a reference while applying his independent mind in assigning the values to imported or exported goods, rather to merely quote the values from above-mentioned journals. Declaration and Assessment for Home Consumption or Warehousing or Transshipment Section 79. At present, the owner of imported goods is required to make entry of such goods for home consumption or warehousing or transshipment or for any other approved purposes, within 10 days of their arrival. The bill proposes to shorten the time limit to 3 days for making such a declaration in respect of goods imported at land customs stations at the border. Warehousing period of the goods Section 98(1). The existing subsection 1 of Section 98 of the Customs Act provides that the perishable goods notified by the Board may remain in the warehouse for a period of 1 month following the date of their admission. The bill proposes to enhance the warehousing period for perishable items up to 3 months to facilitate their trade. Declaration by passenger or crew of baggage Section 139. Currently, a passenger or member of the crew being the owner of the baggage is required to make a verbal or written declaration of the contents of baggage in a prescribed manner to the appropriate officer. To facilitate passengers traveling as a group, the bill proposes to also allow their representative to file baggage declarations on their behalf. Punishment for offenses. Section 156. Concerning existing penalties as enlisted in Table 1 of Section 156 of the Customs Act, 1969, the bill proposes to introduce amendments in the following manner. A. Penalties relaxed. I. At present, Subserial I of serial number 1, if any person contravenes the requirement of placement of invoice and packing list inside the import consignment, such person is liable to fine from Rs. 50,000 to Rs. 500,000 and onward for every recurring violation. Considering the grievances of the trade, the bill seeks to omit this penalty. 2. Currently Subserial 3 of serial number 1 of Section 156 of the Customs Act provides a penalty from Rs. 50,000 to Rs. 250,000 and onwards for every recurring contravention of electronically uploading mandatory documents as required under Section 79 or 131 of the Customs Act, 1969. The bill proposed to restrict the penalty under this offense to a maximum amount of Rs. 50,000. B. Penalties enhanced. At present, no lower limit had been prescribed in the below-mentioned clauses for imposition of a penalty. The bill now seeks to set lower limits to make penal provisions more stringent, whereby penalty cannot be charged at a value less than the value of the goods.
I. Smuggling of goods into or outside Pakistan is liable to penalty under Clause B, C, D, and E of subserial I of serial number 8 up to an amount not exceeding 2, 3, 4 and 5 times of the value of goods respectively, depending upon the value of such goods.
2. About the goods imported or exported in contravention of the restrictions imposed as per serial number 9, the maximum penalty may be of an amount not exceeding 2 times the value of the goods. A. Any person acquires possession of or is in any way concerned in carrying, removing, depositing, harboring, keeping or concealing, retailing, or in any manner dealing with smuggled goods or any goods in respect to which there may be reasonable suspicion that they are smuggled goods, the maximum amount of penalty is 10 times of the value of goods as per subserial I of serial number 89. B. Any person involved in evasion of duty/taxes and breach of prohibitions or restrictions, as laid down in serial number 90, is liable to a penalty not exceeding 10 times the value of the goods. Power of adjudication section 179. Currently, subsection 2 of section 179 provides powers to the board to fix, vary, or transfer the jurisdiction of any officer of customs and assign any case irrespective of the territorial jurisdiction. To reduce the clearance time and eliminate human interaction, the bill seeks to provide an option to the importer/exporter of the goods to opt for adjudication through the customs computerized system. Vesting of confiscated property in the federal government section 182. At present, federal government is empowered to authorize the use of confiscated vehicles for operational purposes by the board or to its subordinated officers. The bill proposes to enhance the scope of such confiscated properties by including therein confiscated conveyance or any other equipment. Transfer of cases section 185D. The bill proposes to facilitate ongoing investigation of criminal cases through transfer thereof from one field formation to another, as per need regardless of their stage of investigation. Appeals to the Appellate Tribunal section 194A. At present, certain orders are prescribed under section 194A of the Customs Act against which an appeal before the Appellate Tribunal can be filed. The bill proposes to add one more classification of order, being an appellate order or a quasi-judicial order passed by the Chief Collector of Customs against which an appeal before the Appellate Tribunal can be filed, however, subject to the condition that such appeal shall be heard by a special bench consisting of one technical member and one judicial member. As per notes to the clauses published by the federal government, said provision is being introduced to keep the respective provisions of the Customs Act streamlined with Chapter 10 of the revised Kyoto Convention of the World Customs Organization. Person to produce authority if required section 208. At present, customs agents holding customs licenses are mainly allowed to transact business on behalf of importers, including filing of goods declarations, GDs, while importers are also allowed to do so by themselves. The bill proposes to introduce a proviso in the above section that the Federal Board of Revenue may issue rules in respect of the eligibility of a person for self-filing of GDs by importers in line with the provisions of registered users specified in section 155C of the Customs Act. Advance ruling section 212B. At present, advance ruling can be sought in respect of the following questions of law. I. Classification of goods under the first schedule to this Act. 2. Determination of the origin of the goods under the rules of origin notified for bilateral and multilateral agreements. 3. Applicability of notifications issued in respect of duties under this Act or any tax or duty chargeable under any of the law for the time being in force in the same manner as duty of customs leviable under Customs Act, or 4. Any other matter as the Board may specify by notification in the Official Gazette. The bill proposes to close the door for obtaining an advance ruling in respect of the applicability of notifications mentioned in 3. above through omission of the same, on the premise that interpretation of any statute concerning liability in respect of ongoing transactions which otherwise lies in the domain of FIBER, falls outside the purview of advance ruling. Islamabad Capital Territory, Tax on Services, Ordinance. Scope of Tax Section 3. Subsection 2A of Section 3 of the Islamabad Capital Territory Tax on Services, Ordinance, 2001 specifies certain provisions of the Sales Tax Act, 1990 ST Act, which shall mutatis mutandis apply to the services rendered or provided under the said ordinance. The bill proposes to enhance the scope of the said subsection with the following effect. I. Freelance exporters of IT and IT-enabled services would not be required to obtain registration subject to capping of annual turnover of 8 million rupees. By substitution of Clause A, the limit of freelance exporters exclusively engaged in the export of IT and IT-enabled services has been proposed to be treated as a cottage industry as defined under Section 2(5) ab of the ST Act, for which no requirement for registration and filing of return exists under the ST law. This immunity from sales tax registration requirement to the freelance exporters of IT and IT-enabled services would be subject to meeting the condition of maximum annual turnover specified for a cottage industry of 8 million rupees under Clause D of Section 2(5) ab of the ST Act. The above intention of the law to provide immunity from registration requirements needs to be streamlined by making corresponding amendments in Section 14(1)(a) of the ST Act or otherwise, as the said clause of Section 14(1) excludes cottage industries as manufacturers only. Besides, for the above said proposition, the bill explains a freelance exporter as a person who works on per job and on a self-employed basis without being attached to or under the employment of any other person, having the liberty to work on various tasks simultaneously. 2. Zero rating facility to services provided for RECODIC project. Through expanding the scope of existing Clause B of subsection 2A of Section 3 regarding zero rating entries in the 5th Schedule to the ST Act, the bill proposes to extend the zero rating facility to taxable services provided about the RECODIC project, presently being considered as a qualified investment in Foreign Investment, Promotion and Protection Act 2022, for which imports and supplies have also been proposed to be zero rated through the insertion of entry number 8A in the 5th Schedule to the ST Act. A services taxable at standard rate. Table 1I. Description substituted. The bill proposes to substitute the existing description of services specified in serial number 1 of Table 1 with a new description. By this amendment, services of restaurants including cafes, and similar cooked, prepared, or ready-to-eat food service outlets are now chargeable to sales tax at the rate of 5% if payment is received through debit or credit cards, mobile wallets, or QR scanning. The proposed substitution is explained as follows. 2. Reduction in standard rate. The bill proposes to reduce the standard rate of sales tax to 15% for services specified in Table 1 under. 3. New insertion. The bill proposes to insert the following service to be chargeable to sales tax under ICT ordinance. These services taxable at reduced rate, Table 2. Rate of tax 15% through Finance Act, 2022. The entry of IT services and IT-enabled services specified under S.number 11 of Table 2 to the ICT Ordinance was substituted with the description of services provided by software or IT-based system development consultants, which was taxable at 5% with no restriction on input tax adjustment. The bill proposes to restore the previous position before such substitution by replacing the existing entry as follows. These were the changes and amendments made in the whole taxation system of Pakistan in the budget 2023-24. If you like my video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you could get my upcoming videos.